Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS 82 apostrophe, with another edition, sort of an impromptu edition of Crazy 5's. Was supposed to do Italy's Holocaust next, and then just didn't have the time with the Christmas season and everything else. It is Christmas Eve as I speak to you via this episode 23, I guess, of what will be a very Merry Christmas edition of Crazy 5's. These things are always a little bit easier to do than, other real true reviews. But was also going to do something else, and then, I don't know, the flu just sort of crept into my house, and it just, let's put a dapper on things, I guess. So this is, I thought, what can I do? I got to do something. I can't just leave it blank. Then I thought, we were just on our Graveyard Shift podcast the other night, our Christmas show, talking about Silent Night, the 2012 film by Stephen C. Miller, I believe it was. And that got me to thinking, because I had kind of did up a quick sort of Crazy 5's-esque list of favorite Christmas movies. And then that got me to thinking, you know what? Let's relook at that real quick, and then let's do a real Crazy 5's list, and at least accordingly to what I have in my collection, and see what we come up with. And so this is what it is. So Merry Christmas. It is Christmas Eve. Hope all is well in your households. And if you take the time on such a busy piece of, the holiday season to actually take time to watch this, I appreciate it. My family's sick, with the flu, and so so taking time out right now sort of works out. Get some distance here for a few seconds. Anyways, Christmas edition. Merry Christmas, Crazy 5's. Let's do this thing, man. Outside looking in, as we always do. You see it up there. I had forgotten I had this. Compliments of Glenn, our Monday reviewer at Body Bags, but also one of the main hosts of the Graveyard Shift podcast. But he had sent me this, about a year ago for Christmas, I think, along with a few other films. And so I thought, it has a standout episode. It works like an advent calendar. The shorts on here are very, very short indeed. But there is a standout episode here by one Ruggero Deodato. One of the last things he was able to do before he died in 2022. Rest in peace, Ruggero. And that was, if I say it right, I may say it wrong, Casata Sperduta in Campania. I can't remember how that translated. I should have looked before I did this. Christmas at a small village home. It's something to that effect. But anyways, this is easily the standout episode on here. Really just has to do with girl coming home for Christmas, and she's got presents for dad and whatnot. And she comes in, and let's just say things are not as she should be finding them, which allows things in very quick order to spiral out of control, leading to quite a shocking ending that is sort of anticlimactic, at least from the perspective of the other characters involved. It is an odd short, but it is an entertaining short. It is a fun short. And if you look real close, when you're in the dad's office, there is, in fact, a poster of Cannibal Holocaust hanging on the wall. And quite a neat looking poster of that movie, as well, as this is Deodato's film, right? Of course. But Death December, the Advent way of doing things in terms of shorts, it's got some pretty controversial things in here. Lucky McKee, Pollyanna McIntosh, Ruggero Deodato, Julian Richards, Trent Haga. These are some of the leading directors in here. Robert Crampton is in here. Sean Bridges, Richard Glover are just a few. Interesting. They're not all that great, but this is worth having, if not for anything else than the short by Ruggero Deodato. It is quite awesome. All right. So let's get on to the top 5. This one, well, the top 3 are fairly new movies, so there's no VHS release for these movies. Number 5 came to us, compliments of our Trick or Treat director, Michael Dougherty, and that is, of course, Krampus at number 5. Not every holiday horror film that comes out is an automatic go-to every single year. In fact, Violent Night, wasn't that it? Violent Night, the new one by Warkola the other year, our director from Dead Snow. That just hasn't been a go-to to me. I saw it in the theater and I was like, it's all right, but it's not a go-to. This is a go-to every year, man. This is not as good as Trick or Treat. But this has really got some really fascinating moments in the snow that really do feel. Now, I was brought up in Western New York. I know what snow is. I know what winters are. Believe me, the opening scene in We Are Still Here is brilliant, as it's shot in just outside of Syracuse, New York, I think, in the dead of winter. It's either Syracuse or Rochester. But the snowy, windswept fields, farm fields, that just harkens back. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to stand outside in that. And there are some really great moments in this movie that work well. It's a great holiday fare. It is our mainstream Krampus story. Now, there's 1,000,001 Krampus stories, but this is the big one. This is the one that was all over theaters. And it's got some nice, effective moments, man. Some nice, effective moments. All right, Krampus at number 5. Number 4 is the movie I just recently reviewed on the Graveyard Shit podcast with Glenn and Will. We spent about an hour talking about this movie. If you want to hear our thoughts, watch for that on Dark Discussions podcast when that drops. Hopefully soon. Filmed by Stephen C. Miller. Of course, we are talking about the more or less the remake to Silent Night, Deadly Night, and that is, of course, Silent Night. It's definitely not without some of the issues in terms of writing. It does have one Malcolm McDowell, who is definitely a standout in this film. And if it lacks anything, it really does lack snow, which I wish it would have had a whole lot more of. I don't know. But other than that, it's an interesting, it's a different type of feel than Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's a different movie. But it's one that has its moments. One in particular involves a wood chipper that is quite harrowing. So obviously no VHS release, unfortunately, although this one would be an interesting VHS release, I think, if we had it. So number 4 is Silent Night in our Christmas roundup here. Number 3 is such a freaking classic. Again, no VHS. Oh, this would be a great one on VHS as well. From 2010, from Hellender, from Norway, I think it was Norway, comes Rare Exports. Such a freaking classic Christmas movie. Another Krampus-like movie, right? Rare Exports of Christmas Tale. We just watched this again the other day. This is another go-to mandatory Christmas watch every year. And I don't usually watch it throughout the year, but Christmas time rolls around and it is definitely rolling for sure. And this is a really, really great, fun movie. This Christmas, everyone will believe in Santa Claus. All right, get into the top 2. Now, again, let me reiterate 2 things real quick. These lists are always, obviously, as I hold them up in front of you, based on what I do have. So if you don't see something and you're thinking, how did that not make it into the Crazy 5's? It's because I probably don't own it, as is the case, unfortunately, with Silent Night, Deadly Night. That would probably be in my top 3, although it's how it's chronologically ordered, right? I don't take much time to think about ordering, so I do it by year of release. And more times than not, I get to tell you who released it on VHS, as I will these next 2. And I do not have, for whatever reason, I don't have a lot of Christmas movies in my collection for some reason. So Silent Night, Deadly Night does not make the cut on my Crazy Fives, although I did rewatch it the other day. And if it's a film that by chance you don't have in your collection either, there are multiple copies and not bad transfers on YouTube of all places. So if you want to watch it for free, there's one option. All right, so number 2, first released in 1974, probably know where I'm headed. Warner Home Video was released in its rated R cut. Stars one awesome John freaking Saxon. Of course, we are talking Bob Clark's classic, Black Christmas. Just watched this last night. This never, ever, ever gets old. Listening to Bob Clark talk about this and the story behind it and its relation to John Carpenter and Halloween never gets old. In fact, listening to him talk last night, I was watching some of the extras, the season's grievings extras, and I was reminded by that because it came up in terms of John Carpenter reaching out to Bob Clark and asking him specifically about this movie and if he had any plans on doing a sequel, and if he would, which he wasn't, what would he do? And that, of course, is the catalyst for what will be Halloween. And what's fascinating about that is just to imagine, not too hard, but imagine ever so slightly, that Michael Myers, who shows up in Haddonfield, having escaped the institution, is Billy, for all intents and purposes, is Billy from Black Christmas. That's an intriguing thought to meditate on for a bit. Black Christmas, Bob Clark, man, perhaps gave us 2 of the greatest Christmas movies ever, one for the whole family and one for, well, the older ones in the family. Absolutely. So we're down to 1974, and you're thinking to yourself, what on earth could be in his Christmas stash that comes even earlier than Black? Well, there is one. I got it for a gift a few years ago. Even if I were to add a few selections to my collection that were Christmas horror related, this one would be up in probably in the top 3, I would imagine, at least bare minimum, top 3. And so in its chronological ordering, of course, it comes at number 1. First released in 1972 by Paragon, the company that first released City of the Living Dead, Fulci's film, in its rated R version, or cut, whatever. We are talking about Gershoni's Silent Night, Bloody Night. I always forget the whole thing. This, apparently, from what I am told, is the best cut out there. It's HD restoration from 35mm film elements, a film chest restored version, the mansion, the madness, the maniac, no escape. This is the only one I'll do this for. A young man inherits a house in which his grandfather died in a fire that was once used as an insane asylum, and he puts it up for sale. An ex-welding maniac or madman is hiding there and threatening anyone who comes near the house. Who is this deranged murderer, and why do the local townspeople act so strange? In the 70s, Silent Night, Bloody Night was primarily a drive-in theater Silent Night, Bloody Night, I think I might have said Deadly Night, was primarily a drive-in theater B movie. I can see that, before disappearing into obscurity. However, in the mid-80s, the film was featured on Elvira's movie Macabre, where its exposure would begin a cult following. That is interesting. Actually, a little bit of history on this film. If you've never seen it, John Carradine is in it. Patrick O'Neill. This is easily one of my favorite Christmas horror-related films. Hands down, one of my favorite. There are certain scenes in here that are just so twisted, man. And just the idea of what's happening or what has happened, characters involved and who these characters really are, and it just, I don't know, it just got a really super twisted vibe that really deserves. This would be an interesting sequel, or a sequel. Sort of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, was it 76 or 78, did for the original 50s Invasion. We need a movie that will do for this what the latter Invasion did for the earlier Invasion. Not so much a remake or a sequel, but maybe something sort of inherently in between, because there are some really twisted thoughts inherent in this film that I would love to see somebody work out, somebody really good. It would have to be good, though. But Silent Night, Bloody Night gets our #1 in our Christmas chest of good cheer. And so that pretty much wraps up our Christmas holiday crazy vibes. Remember, Outside Looking In, December. The standout episode, of course, Ruggero Deodato's episode in there short. Of course, Krampus came in at number 5. Silent Night at number 4. Rare Exports at number 3. Bob Clark's classic Black Christmas at number 2. And number 1, Silent Night, Bloody Night. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Till we see and meet again. Next one will definitely be in Italy's Holocaust. And I think I know where I'm going, but I'll save it for when we get there. As always, go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We might be useful to you.